Hello everybody, and welcome back to another matchup from the Raidcall D2L League Season 3. I am B-Ballin, and this is a matchup between Alliance and Evil Geniuses. This is game 1 of a best of 3 series set, and you might see a lot of Alliance matches in the near future since they are playing a lot of matches in the raid called D2L recently. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's play. I certainly am a huge fan. Meanwhile, EG, they've been pretty hot recently. I mean, they have been performing quite admirably. They went undefeated in the American Dota League season, and now they're in the playoff stage where they're facing against Team Dignitas in the first round, but still, they have a good solid shot at making it all the way through to at least placing the money. And the role switch seems to have done them some well, or some usefulness, I suppose. I don't know the correct way to put it. But yeah, they're looking pretty powerful. And Alliance, of course, still looking quite strong. They're still experimenting. I don't know if they've started boot camping just yet. E.g., I think they live in a team house, although Demon did move back to LA from at least what I've heard. So they are not all in the team house together. Meanwhile, Alliance, I don't think they have started boot camping just yet, but they can afford to take a little bit of a break. Star Ladder playoff season is coming up relatively soon. After that is Raidcall EMS for the summer edition, and then TI3 shortly after that. So a lot of big tournaments coming up for Alliance relatively soon. We'll see if they have what it takes to come out on top in all of these tournaments, or if they're just going to have to, maybe skip one, do a boot camp. I don't know. But this is not the newest patch just yet. I do not believe it has been implemented until maybe Thursday. I don't know, maybe it was implemented sooner than that. So Treant still has his obnoxious armor. I still don't think the Treant armor nerf was enough. I don't think the problem was the number of instances at the early levels, it's the problem of the damage block and instances at the later levels, because I think Lamar at level 1 is pretty, it's not that great of an ability, all things considered. It's only when it gets to level 3 and level 5 that Tree truly becomes a problem. So I'm not too sure if the nerf is going to be enough. I think Tree will still be a high priority pick in a lot of teams' lineups, but hopefully it will decrease its effectiveness, and hopefully we'll have a good time not dealing with Tree for a little bit. But so far these seem to be very standard picks and bans, and Alliance right now, who are they going to go with? They're going to get the Lone Druid for Admiral Bulldog. How could I forget? EG, on the other hand, I'm not too sure what they're going to secure. Likely, the person who's been trending recently very, very hard has been the Darkseer in the offlane, even though he's always been a very trendy pick. Or not really a trendy pick, a very consistent pick. He has been trending a lot more these days because heroes like Lone Druid and other offlane heroes usually get banned out, so Darkseer is always left in the pool. So, EG gonna get themselves Darkseer, and I think when Darkseer is played, Bambo still plays Darkseer for EG. I'm not too sure, but I mean, if we see Demon take the Darkseer to the offlane, then you probably won't be surprised, because EG did just undergo a recent role switch, and again, they have been performing pretty admirably. And EG also going to secure themselves a Chen for Beatus. Interesting decision. So they're going to get a little bit of pushing pressure on their own behalf. Meow Online's going to get themselves a Visage, so they're going to get one of their trademark micro supports for Ake instead of getting something like an Enchantress. Since EG, I think the Chen pick was two-pronged. It had two purposes. One was to deny Ake's Chen. The second was to, of course, get that pushing prowess going, and also to get some sustainability in team fights. And since Chen likely will build into the mechanism, Darkseer can get himself a faster pipe, may get a Blink Dagger that Bambo so often likes to build, or a Force Staff in order to get himself out of range of entangling roots from the Lone Druid. So this Darkseer might have a little bit more item versatility than we see in other games because of this Chen choice. And Alliance with the Lone Druid and Visage, they're not really the best split push. I mean, Lone Druid can split push very admirably, but most often they will be looking for fights 5v5 because Visage thrives in those sorts of situations where damage is just thrown out. And Lone Druid, even though he's ridiculously tanky, wants to be backed up by a multitude of his teammates. So EG, they have some good 5v5 heroes. Alliance does as well. EG gonna ban out the Nagasaki themselves. Interesting decision because they themselves had the first pickup after the second ban phase ended. And I know that will change in the next upcoming patch, but for now, the older version of the new patch is still in effect. But I guess EG don't really want to play the Nagasaki, and they don't want to give up to Alliance. Maybe they don't want to initiate with a vacuum, then Nagasaki will just come in saying, "Lol, here goes your initiation. Have fun." But Alliance, we'll see what they respond with. right now EG have one of their jungle supports. They have their offlane hero most likely. Alliance have their support, and they have their own offlane hero. So Alliance still need to get themselves a support, a carry, as well as mid. EG needs to get a support, a carry, as well as mid. So really, both teams are looking for some similar roles, and EG for their both of these teams do have some pretty reliable carry picks they like to fall back on. So I'm not too sure what these teams will go for in regards to their picks. I know Alliance, I think, will like to get either the Magnus or the Puck for S4, even though Magnus has turned out quite hard recently. Magnus in conjunction with Lone Druid is still very powerful because, of course, it can empower the bear and just enable your pushes to be a lot more strong. EG, I think they like more of those mobile bursty heroes, although Jo has switched back to mid lane, so I'm not too sure how they're going to put it out for Jo in this capacity. So I'm a little bit unsure of what EG will choose, but Alliance, you can be assured that they're going to try to get either the Puck or the Magnus, or maybe even the Dragonite, since Alliance do like to favor those very tanky pushers. And even though S4's Dragonite is not as noteworthy as his other heroes, it's good enough. And if EG don't get themselves a strong mid lane hero, then Dragonite could be an option for Alliance. Alliance going to get rid of the Gyrocopter. Interesting that both teams did not decide to choose the Gyrocopter. The most nerf that Gyrocopter got was in the last patch. It is the 10 range reduction for his base attack range, which is quite pathetic, all things considered. He'll still be a very, very powerful carry. Interesting that neither team wants to snatch it up. Instead, they want to snatch up their other, more versatile roles that, rather than limiting themselves to a carry position. But both teams taking quite a bit of time, so I'll just go over some recent developments. If you've noticed, I've been putting up some recent videos of my streaming VODs, so hopefully you can check them out. I know they're not really everybody's cup of tea, but if you want to help support me, just click it on, maybe watch an ad, and then you can just immediately turn it off afterwards, because, that's the best way to support me. I will be trying to stream a bit more. I'm also planning on recording a Dota 1 game very, very soon, hopefully with SGG. So that should be up within the next week or so. I don't know how much more live streaming I'll do. I'll try to get some more casual pubs. I might record a pubtastic adventure in the meantime as well. So, a lot of those extraneous videos besides casts. I'm going to try to diversify my channel a little bit more rather than just having casts all day and all night. And hopefully you'll enjoy the change. But if you're honest for me, just keep liking my Facebook page and keep clicking the video links, even though you might not like the teams that are playing or anything like that. Your support does mean the world for me. So EG gonna get themselves Luna, a very strong pusher that synergizes quite well with Chen for the early game pushing. Although it must be said, every time I see Luna, she doesn't often carry her team to victory. I don't know if that's just I'm watching all the wrong Luna games, but every time I see Luna, she just doesn't seem to do as well as people would hope. And she is a pretty balanced carry in my opinion. She has a very, very strong ultimate, and her damage in terms of auto attack damage only starts becoming a real nuisance in the later stages of the game, despite the power of Lunar Blessing. Alliance gonna get themselves the Rubik, a really strong choice because of that Luna counter pick. I don't know if Alliance would have necessarily picked up the Rubik regardless, because EGM is such a versatile player that he can play a multitude of supports, but I'm sure the Luna pick had some sort of influence on the Rubik choice, because of course you can steal the Eclipse, and good Rubik players will be able to steal Eclipse a majority of the time, and Rubik does synergize pretty well with Visage in an aggressive trial and scenario. Although if Alliance do want to take it to the safe lane, they definitely have the potential to do just that, as EG gonna get themselves a Bane, and Alliance gonna secure themselves a Juggernaut, so they're gonna go with heavy push, and EG they're gonna pick up the Bane to try to shut down Lone Druid's bear push. And right now, the thing about Alliance is on it, well, they actually have a bit more to say than I gave them credit for. They have the mini stun of Omni Slash, they have Telekinesis, they have the birds coming in, and they have the Lone Druid and Tangling Roots, and keep in mind Bulldog always builds to a Basher, so I was going to say I'm a bit iffy if Fiend's Grip will be cancelled, and it is a bit curious that EG actually secured themselves a Bane after the Rubik was already picked, but I guess EG were just sort of like, well, we want to pick up the Bane, so we're going to pick it up regardless if there is a Rubik or not. And Rubik is very strong against Bane because, Rubik can steal any channeling spell in the game, because you're just going to be sitting there and channeling Rubik will take that spell and might turn around against you. But what I am a bit concerned for Alliance is in the teamfight scenario. They have some really strong pushers, but dealing up against a Darkseer and a Bane and a Luna in a teamfight is a different matter entirely, as they're going to have to push in, and EG have been known to use a Darkseer to turtle quite long and turtle quite hard, so it's going to be very annoying, and wow, they're going to buff up their turtling capacity by another measure, as they're going to get themselves a Tinker, one of the most annoying heroes in the game to deal with, as curiously enough, neither team picked up Nature Swap, as Alliance going to get themselves a Juggernaut, So they are going to get the Empower buff onto the Lone Druid. It's been a while since they've seen Magnus, and even though the Balcro nerf has hurt him, I think the biggest challenge is that the RP just does next to no damage, so it's very hard to actually get kills with Magnus. But yeah, EG, I'm liking their lineup quite a bit. It's going to be incredibly hard to push in against them, and at a certain point, Luna and Tigger, I think, can potentially outcarry a Lone Druid as well as a Juggernaut. And it seems like Alliance will go on the offensive since they have Voda playing the Juggernaut and they're going to have S4 playing the Magnus, so look for EG to play defensive with their trialing. I mean, Luna won't be trying to get as much farm as possible. Guess Jay will be in the mid lane position and Demon will go into the off lane position with the Darkseer. I mean, you can potentially safe lane the Tinker and try to give him as much farm as possible, but if Alliance are going to go on the offensive, then obviously you don't want to be doing that. But yeah, Alliance, they have some really strong pushers, and even though EG have some strong turtlers, it's going to be interesting to see who will win in this clash between Healing Ward and Bear versus the March Machines and Darkseer. As keep in mind, Darkseer, he's pretty strong in terms of a turtling position, but he really can't turtle that aggressively. But Tinker with the dagger can just turtle very aggressively. I know that sounds pretty stupid, but I mean, Darkseer, the way he turtles is that he waits for the other team to get up to the high ground, and by that point the other team sort of is going to work on the tower, as GG is called by Fear. I'm sure that's GLHF. In case we forget again, says Fear apparently. But yeah, if Darkseer wants to wait till you guys are clustered up all around here, we're already doing some damage, especially if you have a Lone Druid on your team, and then he waits for the vacuum, so I guess that's sort of more defensive turtling. Meanwhile, Tinker can just blink in, drop March Machines, blink out, etc, etc. Of course, he has to do that before the entire lineup of the side of Lance does approach the base, but still, I guess it's a bit more aggressive at turtling, but given the choice, I think I'd rather face against Darkseer than Tinker any day of the week, since March Machines is incredibly annoying, but I think Alliance do have some heroes that can deal with March Machines quite admirably. The only thing I'm a bit worried about for Alliance is, besides Healing Ward, they don't really have a natural mecha carrier. Usually, I mean, Magnus won't likely get the mechanism because he needs his mana pool, and Alliance supports probably won't get enough farm where they themselves can get mecha unless Loa gives them enough farm where they could feasibly get themselves that very strong item. And without the mechanism, armor as well as HP boost, I'm not too sure how Alliance can actually break the base of EG unless EG make a colossal mistake. So look for Alliance to play extremely aggressively, but it is going to be difficult against the likes of Chen as well as Luna. And once the Tinker as well as the Darkseer get their mojo rolling, it's going to be much more difficult for Alliance to group up and push, because that EG teamfight suddenly becomes a huge problem. So quickly going over the players and teams, we're going to have S4 playing the Trademark, Magnus Ake is playing the Visage, Lotus is playing the Juggernaut, EGM is playing the Rubik, and Admiral Bulldog is playing the Lone Druid in the offlane. Meanwhile, on the side of EG, we're going to have Fear switching back to the carry role, playing the Luna, Jo is playing mid once again on the Tinker, Demon is playing the offlane, Darkseer, Bambo is playing the support role, and Beat is playing the Chen. And I've got to say, I like these EG role switches a bit more. The only one I'm a bit worried about is going to be Bambo in his support capacity, because I don't think he's ever played support in his professional career, but Bambo is obviously a very smart player, and this might help to limit the amount of risks he does do. Meanwhile, the offlane player, I mean, obviously you don't want to die, but with an offlane player you do have to take some sort of risks, so Demon's risks will be a bit more constant. You don't want to make your mid lane position take nearly as many risks. As here comes EGM, going to drive away Fear, but won't be able to get the kill since Fear just moves way too fast. And you could potentially drop a telekinesis, but you wouldn't be able to get the farm. But Loda, now with level 2, will pick up that healing ward, and the push is going to be imminent. And look at Demon, he's just going to get a massive amount of creeps on this bottom lane, just saying, I don't want to lane against Lone Druid, because even though I can do that, it's always a bit iffy because he can just do a lot of essence, so I'll just take the easy way out and just creep skip. And Beat is just noticing that he doesn't want to get ganked in the jungle, knowing that his jungles were warded off by Alliance, going to jungle instead the offensive territory of Alliance. But you can see the Radiant, wow, what a smart move by Alliance. Not only did they block off a lot of camps on EG side of the map, they actually used another Observer to block their own magic bush ward. So some sensational warning by Alliance, and that's going to allow him to apply a lot of pressure to the top lane, as well as limiting Beatus' experience on the bottom lane. But this tower is still standing tall. I mean, without the healing ward, there's really not too much Alliance can do to push beyond the middle lane. It seems like Magnus is doing quite a good job, and even though people say the battle card nerf is the biggest deal about Magnus's changes, I think it's really the damage nerf on the reverse player, because it just makes his damage output pretty pathetic until maybe, 30 minutes into the game where he can set up those team fights. but it is quite good that S4 is winning the mid lane thus far, even though Jo was able to get himself a double danger and should be able to get himself right back in lane contention, as looks like Beat is going to do a bit of harassment with the Satyr Tormentor, but Bulldog tanky enough where he can withstand a lot of the barrage, and actually Admiral Bulldog playing a little bit greedy, trying to get as much experience as possible, going to wrap around with the bear, but unfortunately for Bulldog, he's not yet level 5, so doesn't have access to the Tangle, he's not even level 4, and he's going to be driven by success with the Shockwave once again clipping him, and that Satyr Tormentor, a pretty strong pushing creep because you can get so many casts of the Shockwave very early on, and it does give you that nice HP regen aura for your creeps as well as your hero, so Demon going to be very close to secure himself a soul ring. Meanwhile on the top lane, Bambo trying to desperately pick up some experience instead of Fear. Maybe they want to trade Bambo instead of Fear. Maybe Fear is going to pick up an early point to Moonglaze to try jungle, but seems like Fear knows that the jig is up. He's going to back away accordingly, and they were able to get the D ward off onto this big camp at the very least. You know, look at this pressure that EG is doing. Even though the creeps are cutting past the creep wave, the majority of them are still going to work on the bottom tower. I'm not too sure why the bear is here. Oh, some clever play by Bulldog. He doesn't want to make the tower take too much damage. He will have to watch his bear's HP pool, since the bear does give a huge bounty at this stage. 300 gold is definitely nothing to underestimate, so he was going to have to be careful. But if there's ever a hero more cognizant of his bear micro, or ever a player more cognizant of the bear micro besides Sylar, it's got to be Admiral Bulldog. Meanwhile, here comes an attempt by Demon just looking to usher away Bulldog. We'll be able to do it successfully. Bulldog has been able to hit level 4, getting very close to level 5, and at that point EG will have to play a lot more defensively. Meanwhile on the top lane, there seems to be a bit of a snafu for EG as Loa going to come in, still has a heal road online, and the creeps, they do have a Siege Dragon, but looks like the Siege Dragon will get killed off relatively easily. So this push is being delayed quite a bit by EG, and they're still managing to pick up some solid experience from us, even though Fear is not able to farm enough to really get his items online. So some really interesting lane decisions by both teams, as Jo in the mid lane starting to get his mojo rolling, still being outfarmed quite a bit by S4, but S4 does have easier access to his Shockwave to get those creep spam down. On Tinker, I mean, even though he has a regeneration, looks like he's trying to focus more on rune control and try and get those fat boots to travel rather than just, you know, harassing the Magnus down, keeping him back. And I think this is actually the correct option, even though you are giving up S4 a lot of experience as well as a lot of gold. I mean, if you don't get the runes, then the supports of the rating could potentially rotate in and pick up the runes themselves, and then Tinker would just be in a very, very terrible position. So even though Jo is losing out a bit in terms of experience as well as gold, he's getting himself those guaranteed runes, and will deny the supports from rotating in, since he's just going to be able to get every single rune on the map. And meanwhile, Bulldog just being driven all the way back to his tier 2. And it seems like this tier 1 will fall relatively soon. It's actually going to fall sooner than Alliance's pushing strategy. And the power of Darkseer and Chen seem to have a very, very strong effect on Bulldog on this final lane, but he's finally level 5, finally has access into the entangling routes. And now EG is going to have to play a lot more conservatively, but this tower might very well fall in the next creep wave unless Alliance do decide to use a glyph. And they are going to rotate Ake in to try to delay the push for the time being. And of course, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, because as soon as Ake rotates to the bottom lane, you can see Bambo going to play a lot more aggressively and then look for Fear to pick up as much experience as possible. But you can see EGM going to make his way towards bottom lane, as well as Demon going to get himself entangling roots up, as here comes the Grave Chill. Beatis looks like he's going to try to sacrifice himself in order to let Demon escape, but the tower will be put into deny range, and I think it was already in deny range regardless, so EG playing a bit too aggressively. But at least Beatis was able to sacrifice himself to save the life of Demon, and the tower was pushed. And they did force a rotation from the supports on the side of Alliance, and even S4 managed to teleport him, or Loda actually teleport himself in to try to get this kill going. So even though it's not the best engagement for EG, I mean, they gave up first blood. A lot of good things happen in that engagement regardless, as Demon's going to look to stack these creeps for Jo in the middle lane. And Jo, 28 CS compared to S4's 40. It seems like EG is being outfarmed by a significant degree, but they have the turtling lineup in place that they can potentially get their CS back into a good position and starting to get their mojo rolling once more. Meanwhile, Bambo only has the boot speed, has the clarity as well. No smoker seat, seems like EG. Not too keen on ganking. I mean, it's kind of late to get the gank going for a Bane as well as a Chen party, because Magnus is already at level 7, so he's going to be very difficult to bring down. So EG, look for them to just farm up, try to make up some of their creep deficit that Fear could not farm in the opening minutes, but you're going to see an immediate rebuttal by Alliance as they once again rotate themselves towards the top lane. And Fear going to be driven away. The Omnislash going to be dropped on the sexy Bambo, but Bambo actually will escape. The boot speed actually going to help him out quite a bit, and Bambo will drop a Furious Brain Tap onto the back of Loda, saying, "Go away, we don't want your kind around here."
Radiant's courier has been killed.
You know, the Radiant lost their courier. Wow, I did not see how that happened. I kind of want to see where exactly that did happen, but I'm not going to rewind it because I don't know if I would be able to spot it out in the midst of all this chaos that's going on. But it seems like EG getting a significant creep by this tower should be alright, even though there is a siege dragon coming, but it should take a significant chunk of damage. Actually, we are going to see a rotation by Beatus. The Centaur going to come in on Ake, and here comes Jayo on the offensive. The laser will finish off Ake, as here comes teleport by S4. Does have the RP online, but he's going to get Nightmare for now. Fear trying to do as much right-click damage as possible. March Machine's going to be stacked up by Jayo. It seems like EG want to engage this issue, but Alliance smartly retreating to the safety of their tower. But the creep wave is coming in. Eclipse is going to be dropped by Fear as he just managed to hit level 6. We'll be able to kill off Loda, and another teleport will come in. It's going to get immediately cancelled by Ake. S4 going to be in launch. The brain staff going down. RP will finish off the kill, only doing 50 damage, but that is going to be enough to clean up Bambo. But Beat is going to right click S4 to death as Tinker trying to get at the last hit. Jail will pick up a triple kill. Man, Jail coming in at the right moment to secure himself a lot of kills, and this should be a tower for EG. The Sea Dragon still going strong, although it will get cleaned up relatively soon. And all the while, Demon's farming up. He did not go, or he did go for the Soul Ring. He's going to go for Soul Ring as well as Arcane Boots to make sure he has enough mana and also have that mana pool online so he can cast all the spells he can possibly need. And now we'll go back into Mecha as Bulldog going to come in, is level 7, and Rubik going to try to get the telekinesis off. The search has already been used, so one entangle will seal the death of Demon. Man, that first entangle by the bear right on cue. Demon, the Surge is going to come up relatively soon. He's juking as best he can, but EGM will cut off Demon's retreat. The Surge has been used. Vacuum going to try to preserve Demon's life, but unfortunately for Demon, he's going to die to one more attack from the Lone Druid. But all the while, EG has managed to secure themselves a triple kill on Jail. He's going to get the Boots of Travel online relatively soon. And actually he's farming these Ancients so he can get those secure Boots of Travel rather than risking his life in the middle lane where he could potentially get ganked and could lose those Boots of Travel money. And EG also were able to pressure this top tower, and you can see Fear now pulling the creep wave back to get as much farm as possible. And he did pick up that early level into Moonglaze, but I think he picked it up because he was jungling for a little bit, because he did not know if the supports on the side of Lance would actually rotate to defend the bottom tower. But those Moonglaze will push out the lane a little bit harder, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal, as Fear should be able to get a lot of uncontested experience on this top lane. He's so very difficult to catch down, he's so fast, and there's really not too many long-range initiations for Alliance. I mean, what are you going to initiate with? An RP by S4, and he's still very far away from finishing that dagger. Meow Jo has finished the Boots of Travel, and this is going to be a bit of an issue, as I mean, the heroes that you traditionally want to have up against the likes of Tinker and Nature's Prophet are heroes like Batrider, Storm Spirit. What heroes do Alliance have to catch heroes like Tinker? They have a Bear and maybe a Blink Rubik, but that's assuming, of course, EGM can actually make his way to farm up that dagger. And I don't know if that's going to be coming in the near future. Speed is going to come in with the smoking, but Alliance seem to know something's up. They are going to back off accordingly as the double Iron Shell Darkseer Illusions going to be able to clear up some of these creeps. But yeah, I'm a bit worried for Alliance how they actually initiate to kill off this Tinker once he gets the dagger online. Speedus will find out Bulldog. Bulldog can go back in the defense of another first hit entangle as the stuns will be perfectly chained by Beatus. What a play as Jail going to teleport himself in onto the creeps of Beatus. Will drop the rocket as well as a missile. Or drop a laser as well as the missile. And Demon going to actually help secure the kill with the Ball of Replica. An interesting decision to pick it up at level 8, but I guess you want to make sure you had enough damage as possible to kill off Bulldog, since Lone Druid is incredibly difficult to kill off. But a really nice gank being set up by EG. That smoke seat from Beat is working out perfectly, and Jay with those fast boots of travel was able to get into position to clean up that kill with relative ease. Meanwhile, EG constantly having vision on the map, and Alliance, their only ward has been placed in this weird sort of location, I guess, to spot any potential mid lane ganks or side lane ganks that could come around to gank out S4. but honestly, I'm not too sure what this ward will accomplish for Alliance in the next 5 minutes or so, as S4 is just continue to farm up. It is getting very close to his dagger, and his RP will be online relatively soon, and more importantly, I think, is he's gonna hit that level 11, and that means he has max shockwave, max skewer, and RP will do a slightly more significant amount of damage. And every bit of damage S4 gets on this hero will be very important for Alliance, as Fear is starting to get pincered. Bambo look to get the creep pull going, but Fear, he does know that everybody inside of Alliance are up here on the top lane, since he did have a very defensive ward being placed on that top lane. And of course, Fear just very, very fast, unless Visage does manage to get the familiar stuns going, which he doesn't even have access into because he's not yet level 6. I don't know how exactly. Oh, Bambo, what are you doing, my friend? We'll drop the Nightmare onto Ake, but Fear is going to come in with rotation. We'll drop the Eclipse, but he's just going to get sliced and diced by Loda. Only 3 slashes as Fiend's going to go down to Ake, but it's going to be immediately stolen by EJ. He's going to Fiend's grip Bambo in return. Demon's going to come through, trying to pick up the kill, as Jo is actually going to secure the kill with the rocket, going to clean up the Visage as well. Loda going to be onto a perfect micro by Beatus. Wow. Sensational Chen play by Beatus as he managed to help secure Jo another triple kill. And Jo is going to have his dagger up in the next instant, as I imagine he's going to get shipped towards him relatively soon. That means his split pushing brigade will start to become a major problem for Alliance relatively soon. And Fear was able to preserve his life. I mean, Bambo did die, but in the end, support Bane for the cost of, I guess, another triple kill is going to be very much worth it for the squad of EG. The only bright side for the side of Alliance is that S4 now has daggers, so they have a bit more teamfight potential, and Lotus, or Bulldogs, continue to farm up. Did decide to go for the Midas in the end. We'll see if he decides to go for a Radiance Rush, or if he's going to choose to go for a Maelstrom build. And I gotta think Radiance Rush is going to be the best option because, I mean, yeah, Tinker can blink himself into locations, but you still want to have the Radiance up against the likes of a Blink Dire and Tinker, and even Darkseer if he wants to get a good positioning wall into vacuum combination or vacuum to wall combination. We'll definitely appreciate that dagger. And you know, okay, deciding to get as much experience as possible in the middle lane. We'll be able to do just that. We'll finally be able to secure himself a level 6, and now they actually have a chance to gank the Tinker if the familiars are in the right place at the right time. But it's looking very, very good for EG. Beatus has just been playing sensationally, and he's going to have that mecha up relatively soon. Meanwhile, Fear is starting to make up some of the deficit in farm. You can see only 61 CS, but I mean, that's definitely a lot more than he had at the previous rate he was farming, just because of the pressure that Alliance was applying on that top lane. And meanwhile, you can see Loda's experience growth has been slowed down phenomenally. He's only level 8, 15 minutes into the game, and he's a safe lane, or he's an aggressive try and carry, but I mean, he was not challenging the aggressive try whatsoever. But I mean, he just wasn't able to get the kills. As here comes a blink in, S4 just gonna spot everybody inside of EG. We'll get a perfect RP. They're gonna initiate, and that is gonna mean 2 deaths for the squad of EG. But here comes Demon with the vacuum wall. We'll try to chase down S4. Demon doing so much jail. Jail gonna secure himself another kill with the laser, and we'll see if Demon keeps up the pursuit onto EGM. EGM will have the telekinesis up relatively soon, but Loda is just waiting in the background, looking for a moment to Omni Slash. But keep in mind that Omni Slash does not hit very much at this stage in the game. Demon's taking a lot of damage from familiars, so the creeps of beat is gonna allow him to juke away to safety, and Demon gonna use the Force Staff to do just that. So Demon should be able to escape. Meanwhile, Fear might take a little bit of damage, but he's just too fast. And of course, Juggernaut does not have any slow whatsoever, as actually EGM gonna be in launch. Will he die to the likes of Beatus creeps? These creeps gonna approach EGM very, very quickly. And meanwhile, Jo gonna be in launch, and this was one thing I forgot to mention, is if Jo did not secure a fast enough dagger, he's gonna give up a huge streak, and he will do just that. What was Jo thinking? I'm not sure, but he just gave up, well, at least he gave up to the Visage. That's the only positive thing you could say from that engagement. I mean, if you gave up to the likes of Bulldog or Loda, then they just get an immense amount of farm. But that was a wicked 6 streak, and you can see Jo just gave up 750 gold, and that was a big problem. I was going to say earlier on that it's all well and good that Jo managed to secure himself 2 triple kills, but getting them so early in the game before you manage to get an insurmountable lead just means that you're going to be in great danger of giving up that streak. Even with a very safe hero like a Tinker, as Bambo going to channel feed script, going to get interrupted by the Skier. Omni Slash going to slice and dice Bambo, going to get the self-deny with Nightmare. Nicely done by Bambo. Also a little bit lucky that the damage ticks weren't enough for Alliance. But Alliance, we're not able to get the tower in the end. It was denied, and Demon trying to get in position for a vacuum wall won't be able to make that happen. So a couple of slight missteps here and there by EG. JO's death definitely cost EG quite a bit in terms of the goal graph, and that tower definitely did not help out EG either. The experience graph has definitely slowed down a lot as well for EG, but EG still looking in a very capable position. I don't think Fear has really done too much as Luna... Ooh, Demon. I'm not too sure how that engagement sparked. S4, I guess he just used his solo RP onto Demon, and Demon just did not know it was coming, so a bit unfortunate for Demon, but he will be slowed down for a little bit, and JL going to teleport himself back to Lane. Now has that dagger online, as well as an ultimate orb, looking to get the engagement onto Ake, but Fear, although he did pop the drums, they just were not fast enough to catch the fleeing Visage, as he is able to escape relatively easily. But yeah, I was going to say, it's still looking pretty good for EG. I mean, Fear, all things considered, has really not participated too much. He has 5 assists, yes, but I mean, it's very difficult for Fear to actually engage into the very tanky lineup of Alliance. But once he secures himself a BKB or a Yasha, he should be able to participate in these teamfight engagements a lot more successfully. JL can just drop relentless March Machines, making it very difficult for Alliance to actually push in. And it seems like EG going to try to rotate themselves in for Roshan. And I'm not too sure if this Absorb Ward did spot out the movement of EG. I think it did. And the Fillers will be used to scout. They're going to be used to scout as well, as EG just simply not doing enough damage to the likes of Roshan. And I think Alliance, they're going to just move to scare away EG. EG, unfortunately for them, don't have any vision of where Alliance is on the map. So they're going to back off as a team. And actually these Ion Shells, or this Ion Shell, going to do a bit of damage to beat his creep army. Actually, never mind, that's Demon's Ion Shell, so just scratch that. But JO just going to farm some more Arch Machine stacks. I'm not too sure why JO is just not farming everywhere on the map, because he can, of course, do that with the Tinker. And, well, I guess he's a bit worried since he currently does not know the location of S4, but now that S4 has revealed himself into the jungle of EG, he probably won't teleport himself towards the top lane. Meanwhile, Demon has 4-step beaters, finished the mecha. Checking out the items on sideline, seems like Relic was secured by Bulldog. Is going to have the Radiance up relatively soon. Juggernaut going to look to get the Yasha, but he's relatively squishy nonetheless. Rubik, only an Urn, has some boots. We'll see if he goes for Arcane Boots or tries to get a bit more HP instead, as EG continuously going on Roshan, but they're going to trade a tower in response. This will be worth for EG in the end. But we'll see if Alliance can actually respond, as we're going to see a teleportation by Magnus. Maybe we'll get an RP gank successfully, but this Roshan will fall a bit sooner, as Luna is going to secure herself an Aegis the Immortal. So trading a tier 1 for the Aegis in the grand scheme of things, I think it is worth it, but the fact that EG just took a long time to bring down that Roshan makes me think maybe Alliance aren't too mad at how things went. Interesting build by S4. Usually he's one of those Magnus players that likes to get himself a BKB, but I mean, what will you BKB in this game? You'll BKB the Eclipse and some rockets and maybe some Ion Shell damage, but other than that, BKB just won't be that effective. Instead, he's going to go back into the 4-staff to get himself as much mobility as possible, which I think is the correct response by S4. And we're going to see a push attempt by EG. I'm not too sure what spell EGM managed to steal. It was just the Ion Shell, and EG should be able to kill off this tower with relative ease. Alliance not even going to bother to go put up as Sphere. Going to guarantee himself the last hit, and JO going to push himself in towards the middle lane. Seems like EG just want to get a lot of towers pushed in, since they know Bulldog is getting very, very farmed. And Bulldog is going to have the range shipped towards him relatively soon. And actually, it will be shipped towards him at that precise instant. But yeah, I think EG playing a bit too aggressively. I think you can just sit back and farm up with the Tinker as well as Luna. And Luna decided to go for the Yasha. I like this choice because, I mean, with the Aegis, you don't really have to go for the fast BKB. And Luna's a hero who's very reliant on that BKB to endure a lot of teamfights. Even though Alliance does have a lot of physical damage, they also have a lot of magical damage that BKB can do a lot of work. And with the BKB nerf being applied, Luna definitely wants to hold on to as many long duration BKB charges as possible. So she's going to go for the Yasha. I don't know if she's going to build straight into the med style. It looks like she is. She's going to get herself the ultimate orb, and then BKB will likely be the next choice after that. Even though Entanglers and Reverse Play will go through BKB, she does want to endure the Soul Assumption, the Fade Bowl, as well as the Blade Fury and the Shockwave. So Luna going to hold on, or hold off the BKB rush as long as possible. But that's going to push in with the Radiance, and this is the usual Radiance timing push for the Lone Druid. As soon as you secure yourself the Radiance, you want to try to get yourselves pretty much all the outer towers in the map, but at the very least, at least 2 towers. But usually with the Tinker, going to make that a lot more difficult. But it seems like this tower will be muscled down in the end. Fear actually going to approach the lineup of Alliance, and it seems like there will be an engagement relatively soon. The healing ward has already been expended by Alliance, and as we're trying to blink himself out to safety, we'll get a Lucent being dropped square onto his head, but not enough reinforcements to drive away S4. So as we're going to come back into a very aggressive position, meanwhile Centaur's going to de-ward the pushing attempts of Alliance, and this tower is in deny range. It is not. One hit away from deny range, and that is going to be very frustrating towards EG as they're going to be forced to group up, and Alliance just going to resume farming all across the map, and EG, we'll see how they respond. Will they push out the bottom lane, or will they just go back to farming themselves and try to give up this tower in the end? But the unfortunate thing about the bottom lane on the Dire side is that these towers are so close together, so as soon as you push down this tower, if you have a sizable creep wave, you can just push down this tower as well, very, very easily. And that's the same thing on this top lane for the Radiant, because the towers are so close together. If you manage to get enough momentum, these towers can fall very, very quickly. So EG going to stay in close proximity, but Fear should be able to farm up. Going to be spotted out by a Sentry Ward, but is going to be very much okay with this as the match style. Going to be shipped towards Fear. Meanwhile, Bambo just warding up level 8. Has 2 points in Enfeeble. We'll try to max Enfeeble at ASAP. But, I mean, he doesn't really need that much more experience after this. As EG actually going to smoke themselves up away from Milan's ward. We'll see if this smoke attempt is going to be successful, as this Aegis will time out relatively soon. And, well, 3 minutes is definitely a long time in the world of Dota. But, I mean, they definitely want to make some sort of aggressive moves to try to regain some map control. And EGM might be in for a rude awakening as he is going to get surrounded, but there aren't any primary disables. Here comes a teleportation by the Tinker as EGM going to juke into the trees and will be able to escape to safety. Managed to find the perfect juking location. Nice play by EGM as he is showing why he's become one of the most versatile support players in all of the West. Meanwhile, Jo is going to have his Hex finished, and that is going to allow him to get those permanent disables on lockdown. So that's going to make the team fights much more difficult for this side of Alliance, because they currently do not have any BKB heroes, and it's unlikely that either Juggernaut or Lone Druid will pick a BKB in this game, and even the Magnus decide to go for the Force Staff in the end. And I think that was the right decision, but the permanent disable of the Tinker is just going to make life miserable. But Alliance is going to respond from this tier 2 pressure by EG by pushing the middle lane in response, and they will be able to do a healthy amount of damage to both towers. As Tinker gonna get initiated on with the RP, gonna get skewered backwards. Is Jo gonna be in launch hole? He did hex up the bear. Can he get another hex going? No, Bulldog gonna back up. Does not want to give 300 gold. As Bambo, what are you doing? You're just gonna be caught, and you are just gonna get absolutely solid. But Fear's gonna come in, gonna pick up a nice gold bounty, 300 gold for the Spirit Bear, as well as an additional 344 gold for our Bulldog's death. So a nice bit of gold being secured by Fear, and that is going to protect the middle towers. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, Loda being surrounded by Beat as well as Jo. Beat is actually able to survive the onslaught of Alliance, and he familiar is going to steal Beat's death in the end. But they were able to kill Loda in exchange for a Shen, and Ake could potentially fall as the Great Chill will be coming relatively soon. Can he actually escape the ranged initiation by Fear as well as Jo, as rockets will be coming down relatively soon? No, not enough mana for Jo, as Fear gonna approach the high ground. Will be able to drop one more Lucid Beam, and EG just playing really, really smart Dota. Jo gonna blink into the Hex, trying to secure the kill on S4. Will be able to do it successfully, as Fear gonna pick himself up a double kill. And EG, they won that team fight decisively, and they didn't even have a BKB online for Luna. And Jo, as well as his team, definitely gonna be very pleased on how this game is going. It's now Alliance in a whole lot of trouble. And it's going to be very difficult for them to come back, because Tinker's split push will get more and more annoying once it gets items like a Shiva's Guard or items of that nature. Actually, I'm not too sure what Tinker will go for next, as, I mean, Shiva's Guard has sort of faded out for Tinker. He likes to get Blink Dagger as well as Force Staff, and then maybe into E-Blade or Dagon. And E-Blade against the lineup of Alliance will definitely be very, very useful against the likes of Lone Druid, as well as Juggernaut and the Magnus. So I'm not too sure what Jay will go for next. I mean, it's up to him. But this Tinker is getting very, very far in Fear. Likely going to secure himself the BKB since the Aegis has expired, but has a lot of gold in the bank to make that happen. And EG, the gold graph, it's a bit deceptive, but EG should have, wow, EG actually getting very, very much out-farmed for the most part, so they've only been able to make up some of the experience deficit. So actually they're not really as far ahead as I thought, but they are still a bit ahead since they've been able to get so much map control. You can see the placement of the wards means that they're able to gank in such better positions, and because they have a Tinker, they can constantly reinforce the ganks. And Tinker and Chen is such a great combination because you can just send Chen to creep the scout, and then Tinker can just say surprise bitches and come in with a lot of burst damage, potentially killing off one of the sides of Alliance, or one of the heroes of Alliance, very, very easily. And Fear actually gonna go for Eagle Song. Interesting decision. Maybe feels like the only way you can die is through an RP, which BK won't really help regardless. I would still be worried about the soul assumption, but the evasion against likes of Juggernaut, Lone Druid, and Magnus will be very useful. And getting himself as much damage as possible will also be very useful, as EG gonna smoke around trying to get a gank going onto the likes of Bulldog, as here comes Search for Jail, gonna get the Hex, but is gonna get immediately first hit Entangled, gonna get 4-stacked away by Demon to safety, as Jail is taking way too much damage. The Nightmare gonna be dropped onto the Bear, as the Bear trying to escape. That Bear will get hexed up, so at the very least EG gonna spend 100 gold to receive 300 gold in exchange, and they are gonna prevent Bulldog from pushing in. Actually, the Bear is on cooldown for a little bit, so Bulldog gonna be forced to give up another 300 gold, but is gonna escape that gank with his life. And you can see EG's mobility is starting to become a huge problem for Alliance because they're desperately trying to get the push going, and this tower is now in deny range. We'll see if EG actually goes for the deny. I'm sure JL will try to get the tower deny, since a couple more attacks from the Siege will seal this tower's fate, and the Demon with JL will secure the deny, as Fear gonna deny Loda even more gold, and EG starting to fire on all cylinders. They're really getting a lot of movement going, and they're just overall outmaneuvering Alliance on this map, as they're gonna stack some Ancients, gonna give either Luna or Tinker a little bit more safe farm, and JS just continue to farm, is gonna pick up the Ghost Scepter, will likely go for the E-Blade next, and that is just gonna be very, very good news for JL. But meanwhile, Alliance gonna approach the side of EG very, very quickly. EGM, no line progression. Okay, has a headdress, but again, the supports on sidelines just not able to pick up enough farm to secure themselves a mecha. As meanwhile, there will be another Blinken, but RP will be immediately used by S4, as they're going to skewer out JL. The vacuum not going to catch anybody. But, I mean, the wall isn't really the biggest cooldown waste, as Beat is just going to send JL back home. And keep in mind, the wall only has 100-second cooldown, so it should be back up for the next engagement, but we'll see if Alliance decides to take this opportunity to perhaps plant some aggressive wards and maybe go to secure themselves a new team fight. And maybe I underestimate the importance of this ward, as Bambo found himself killed off in the jungle, and Alliance, I think they were able to spot Bambo's move in the end, as Omnislash will just seal the death of Bambo. Nightmare are just simply not in time. But yeah, back to the wall. It might end up that Demon might regret that wall decision, just because Roshan is going to respond at this precise instant. We'll see if Alliance will respond, but RP is on cooldown, and there goes the primary Roshan initiation. And it seems like EG is just going to be content giving up a tier 2 in exchange for this Roshan, but with those rockets, JO just going to reveal the location of Roshan, as S4 will initiate, going to get the skill on Demon. JO going to immediately blink in after, as S4 will just get burst down into Oblivion, and meanwhile the Roshan will fall. Luna once again secure yourself an Agency Immortal. So a tier 2 for a kill on Magnus Roshan, arguably worth it, but EG also lost to the tier 2 on the top lane. So, I mean, it's again not going to be too displeased on how that engagement went. They got 2 towers, even though they gave Roshan. I think that engagement ultimately was neutral. But still, you gotta be concerned, because Fear is starting to become a huge issue. He's going to have that butterfly ship towards him relatively soon, and then after that, I've got to imagine he's going to go for either the BKB or the Satanic. Might even choose to go for the Satanic to give himself more HP. But that butterfly is just going to allow him to split push a lot more quickly, and that evasion is going to be very, very useful against the likes of Bulldog, as well as Loda and Magnus. So checking out the gold graph, it's going to be slightly favoring Alliance. Alliance have been able to claim all but one of the outer towers on the map. Meanwhile, EG still have to claim 2 more outer towers. Experience slightly in favor of EG, definitely in no small part because of those 2 Roshan kills. But with that butterfly, you can just see how quickly Luna's attacking, and she will pick up BKB in the end, just because she's a bit too squishy. But when she finally does, those BKBs will last an eternity at this stage in the game. And will Alliance actually defend this tier 2 tower? It seems like they're not going to gear up to get themselves in a position to do just that, as Fear is just going to go to work. We'll be able to clean up this tower relatively easily, and Jo getting himself very, very close to the E-Blade. So Alliance looking in a very, very uncomfortable position. They definitely have what it takes to come back, as they have Magnus, and at this point your heroes do have enough damage that they can make up for the damage deficit of RP. and this RP has 100-second cooldown. It still is probably the best teamfight ultimate in the game. And meanwhile, Bulldog, what does he got? He has the finished AC, gonna go into the Basher as well, so Bulldog's actually getting very farmed very quickly. So if EG were to lose a team fight, the Bear could potentially push down a lot of towers very quickly. But it's gonna be difficult for the Bear to get in position against the consistent layers of March coming his way, as EG pressuring the tier 2 tower, going to do a lot of damage, as the Bear going to get hexed up. Here comes Demon, but won't be able to find any heroes on the side of Alliance to get himself a vacuum initiation. And Alliance gonna drive EG away for the time being, but EG just gonna respond in kind. And meanwhile, Alliance knows they can't really push out as easily, because now Tinker does have enough damage and has enough mana to consistently get the permax going, as Demon is now caught in a very awkward location. Will be spotted out by the familiars. Will there be an engagement? No, Surge will propel Demon away to safety. Meanwhile, Bambo, only level 9, is the lowest level in the game, but he's done his part. As Enfeebles has Fiend's Grip, he doesn't really need to do anything else. I mean, he ideally wants to get that level 11 so he can have that max rank of Enfeeble as well as that second point to Fiend's Grip. But, I mean, the Sable on Fiend's Grip does remain constant at all levels. Meanwhile, Jail, I'm gonna drop the Ghost Scepter on himself, maybe baiting Loda into an Omnislash usage, but Loda just saying, I'm just gonna get the heck out of there, and we'll be able to escape very easily. As Jail just continued to far up with the March machines, and you can see it's so very difficult for Alliance to actually push in. Meanwhile, Loda himself is finished of Vlad, so it seems like Alliance just gonna give themselves, wait for an EG mistake, and then capitalize by just pushing in super aggressively. And heroes like Bear, Magnus, as well as Juggernaut definitely benefit quite a bit from the Vladimir's offering, since they do a lot of physical damage. The armor, of course, it does stack with the AC, and the lifesteal definitely not going to be insignificant, especially when the Bear is doing a lot of damage and attacks very quickly. You know, EGM going to secure himself 4 staff, going to allow him to be a bit more safe in these engagements, can perhaps propel himself out of the way of, or perhaps propel a teammate away if they get hexed up by Jail. I mean, Loa doing a decent amount of damage with these crits due to the fact that Empower just scales so well into the late stage of the game. Magnus actually going to go back to a BKB. Interesting decision, but now that Tinker has finished the Hex and has had it for a while, Magnus is starting to realize, alright, even though EG does have a lot of ways to go through BKB, I still need the Hex just for the Tinker. Demon finished up a Shiva's Guard. Seems like he finished it relatively recently, so now he has more armor and will reduce the attack speed. Will pretty much nullify the Shiva's, or the AC attack speed bonus. As here comes the tower push by EG. They want to make the most of the Sages, since Fear has yet to finish a BKB, as the Hex will go down to the Berry. Once again, the net will fall up, but EG just poking and prodding will be able to overcome these groups relatively easily due to the March machines, as well as these Lunar Glaives. I mean, Online's going to respond by trying to get themselves into a bit more useful of a position. Loda does have a TP scroll to teleport himself back into the middle lane if the fight does break out, as Fear, once again, going to get Iron Shelled off. The Aegis will time out relatively soon. The Tranquil Boots are disabled, so Fear's move speed a little bit slower than he would otherwise like to have it. But seems like EG just going to clean up the tier 2 without too many problems and look for them just to play a lot more defensively. Or they should play a lot more defensively in the way for the next Roshan respawn, as they're going to come in, but Fear just going to get sent right back home by Vitas. Going to defend the top lane, and will receive a lot more farm. And we have a smart play by Lola, will just heal up his creeps constantly with the Seal Ward, but Fear is going to clean up his creeps without too much of a problem. But seems like Fear did decide to go for Satanic in the end, because he still has the Aegis. And again, a lot of Alliance's damage does come from physical damage, or physical attacks, so Satanic definitely going to be very useful, but I don't know, how much will the lifesteal Satanic will it do for you if you're getting bashed and RP'd into oblivion? That's my big concern, and Telekinesis will keep Fear disabled for quite a bit, so we'll see if Fear decides to buy up that Reaver or decides to save up for buyback and may make his way towards the BK before finishing Satanic. Gold graph, experience graph still relatively even, as even though EG do have a strong split pushing lap, they always group up to try to defend the towers, or try to push down the towers, since they know if they go in one by one, S4 could potentially clean up heroes very easily with the RP or the bear could come in with a couple bashes, and I've got to imagine Bulldog has now finished the basher and is making his way towards that Abyssal Blade. No, he's going to go instead for the MKB to melt through the butterfly. Smart decision as the fight looks like it will be breaking out. Bambo going to charge in completely by himself as Demon gonna get caught in an RP as well. The Eclipse fight is breaking out, but Fear is Aegis time at the worst possible instant, and Alliance just gonna massacre EG. Man, that lack of vision just severely cost EG in the end. And Jail can't do anything but just walk away. Man, Bambo just charged in super aggressively. Obviously not realizing that Alliance were smoked up, as that was definitely a prime opportunity for Alliance to smoke up. EG probably should have been expecting it, since it is quite a common time to smoke up after the Aegis has expired. But they didn't anticipate that all their account initiations would get just utterly dominated. And Fear, he does have enough for buyback. He will be forced to buyback, since this push will just be able to clean up these towers very, very easily, since the armor as well as the damage coming in from the bear is just going to be absolutely immense. And Jay won't be able to repel the push single-handedly. Yeah, you can drop a glyph, but here comes the initiation by S4. Will skewer Jay away to safety, but still Blade Fear going to clean up the damage. And Beat is just going to die. He used the Hand God to no avail. Seems like EG just one fell swoop got themselves slaughtered. And they will be able to defend the middle barrack, or top barracks, but only because Fear did have to buy back in the end. And we'll see if Alliance decide to push in once again. The RP is cooling down very rapidly, and S4 will have that BKB up relatively soon. It seems like Alliance just trying to get themselves as much map control as possible. They have to be careful. They need to get the next push going before Roshan does respawn, since Tinker will just be able to push out the creepy Golem to such an extent that Alliance won't be able to safely take that Roshan by any means without losing potentially one of their towers. So if they're going to push now, as Loda going to approach the high ground very, very bravely. Still has some Style online, as well as 5k gold in the bank. And Marching Machine is going to delay the push for as long as possible. The armor, as well as the mecha being finished by the Visage, going to be very, very useless. The bear just going to work on the tower, going to get E-bladed up, but the glyph going to be used at a bit of an odd time, and the bear just going to go back to work. The bear will be able to clean up the top barracks, as Demon or Fear going to get sent right back home if he found himself into RP initiation range. And Demon just going to arch away beside Alliance with the Iron Shell, but Alliance managed to clean up the top lane and barracks. And now they're going to back off very, very happy with what they achieved. But they know they need to get more buildings down if they want to be able to take the next Roshan, which is respawning in about 30 seconds. And you can see EG just saying, alright, screw the top lane. We don't really care about this top range barracks. We're going to try to get ourselves into good Roshan position. But now, since they do have a bit of a creepy golden advantage on the top lane, they will be able to get into a good position. Magnus still is very, very strong in Roshan team fights. EG gonna smoke up as Fear's trying to finish the BKB. I don't know if you should smoke up right now before you finish the BKB. If I were Fear, I'd just finish the BKB and say, alright, now we'll go in. Because keep in mind, Fear does not have buyback, but it seems like EG just want to claim the Roshan right now. And Alliance currently have no knowledge that EG is in the Roshan pit, since the ward right here wouldn't be able to spot EG's movement since they were smoked up, and Bambo gonna be unspotted, so EG might be able to claim this Aegis relatively easy, but the Familiar's gonna fly overhead. EG gonna be in a lot of trouble. They aren't killing Roshan fast enough. Demon and Fear are just simply not enough, as here comes the Eclipse. Seems like Rubik was able to secure the Eclipse, as Skewer gonna go down to Fear. Fear is gonna get absolutely obliterated. The Dire managed to get the last hit on the Roshan, but Lone Druid gonna pick up the Aegis of the Immortal. Beat is gonna get killed off, and this is looking next to impossible for EG to defend. Fear has already bobbed back and won't be able to get himself into the next team fight. I'm not too sure if EG's decision making was the best in that scenario. I mean, I don't really understand why they would go for Roshan without the BKB finished on Fear. And if they were to go for Roshan, they should have just grouped up and tried to take that engagement with all 5 of their heroes so they could kill Roshan as fast as possible. But EG gonna just lose the game on the back of a couple mistakes. I wouldn't call it a throw, since the game was relatively even. And, I mean, a throw I feel like just makes, means the team just makes an utter huge gap in judgment. And I don't think EG necessarily made that on the top lane. They were just completely caught off guard. The Roshan, yeah, that was a pretty big gaff, but I think EG were in such a deficit that maybe they felt like, alright, we need to take the Aegis as soon as a response, because you can't really afford to give up an Aegis to Bolg. Although EG, I think they did have it in them to defend against an Aegis Lone Druid, since they did have the Darkseer while they had Tinker and they had Luna. But EG, they just went for all in, and they paid for it in the end. So I don't want to count that a throw, but it was just not looking good. Didn't look good for EG in the past 10 minutes, but overall, they played a solid game, bottom line showing why they're so very clutch, perhaps the best team in the West, and we're able to jump out to a Game 1 victory. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in Game 2 relatively soon. Peace out.